Good afternoon. I'm Brian Manning, and you're watching the Asylum Answer Show, where I'm going to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an ex-asylum officer. I used to work as an asylum officer for U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. I was in the Houston Asylum Office, but now I'm an asylum lawyer. In my law firm, it's called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. I'm going to answer your questions. Now is your opportunity to get the insider perspective, someone who's been on the other side of the desk. I actually worked for 11 years for the government's two main agencies for asylum and refugee affairs. And as an immigration officer with the government, I've done thousands of immigration interviews. So I'm happy to share those insights, those perspectives that I gained on the other side of the desk to help you. That's what we do. That's how we help our clients. We have this insider perspective that we use to help our clients present the strongest asylum case possible. Let me know what questions you have. But first of all, say hello. Say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to hear where you guys are at. I'm in Texas, but listen, it doesn't matter where we're located because we help people all over the country, not just in Texas, all over California, including in Sacramento, and all over the country. Yeah, lots of clients in Texas, lots in California, lots in Florida, New York, around Chicago, all over. So say hello. Let me see where you are watching from. Let's see who we got. Who do we have here? Hey guys on YouTube, good to see you. Over on, yep, right on. Hello. Who is, let's see. We've got, nice. Velvet Versa, that's you. I didn't know who you were. I've seen you commenting many times on our lives here on YouTube, and I didn't realize that you were, as you say here, Gigi, commenting now on YouTube. I didn't know that was you. This is how I love to start my day, how I love to start a show. Over on YouTube, we've got this comment that says, "Hello, Brian. This is Gigi. I got my asylum approval last week. Thank you for your help. Valentina and Lore are the best," says Gigi. So yeah, as Gigi is saying here on on YouTube, it's one of our clients who got their approval letter just a few days ago. Now, this is someone for whom we filed a Mandamus lawsuit. What is that? The famous Mandamus. This is an asylum delay lawsuit that we used when someone's case has been pending with the government for too long and they're sick of waiting and they want to get their interview so they can have a chance to present their case, win their case, and move on with their life with confidence and certainty around their future, just like Gigi is telling us on YouTube that they did last week. They won. We filed the asylum delay lawsuit for Gigi and we got the interview pretty much right away. It happened really quick in your case, right, Gigi? And got the interview and Gigi got their decision and they got asylum. So congratulations to you. Thank you for commenting and taking the time to say it. And I will pass along your the congratulations or the kind words to Valentina and Laura, two of my colleagues, two of my teammates on my staff. And so I'm going to get to your question, Gigi, in 1 second. All right. Say hello. Let me see where you're watching from. Love hearing where you guys are at. Nice. Thanks, guys. We've got Amar says, "I'm Sudanese watching you from Virginia." Oh, how interesting. Very nice. From LA, we got Mike in LA. I'm going to get to your question, Mike. That's an important question. Nice. Good to hear. All right. So I'm going to get to your questions. Go ahead and leave your questions in the comments. But before I address your questions, I want to talk about this. What is humanitarian asylum? So listen, this is a term, humanitarian asylum, that gets thrown around all the time, but people don't really usually know what they're talking about when they say it, or they use that term incorrectly. Oftentimes when people say humanitarian asylum, they just really mean asylum. But there is actually a thing under the law called humanitarian asylum. It's what we call a term of art. Like, it's something that has a very specific meaning in the U.S. asylum law context. And here's how it works. Normally, to get asylum, it's not enough to show that you've been harmed in the past by itself. You also need to show that you have what's called a well-founded fear of future persecution, that you're likely to be harmed, or at least there's a reasonable possibility that you'll be harmed in the future on account of protected ground in a way that is sufficiently severe to rise to the level of persecution. This is called a well-founded fear of persecution. You got to show that there's a chance this is going to happen to you in the future, all right? But sometimes you can win asylum without this well-founded fear of persecution. And there's two scenarios under which you can win asylum even if you don't have a well-founded fear of persecution. But rather you can win it based off of past persecution. Now, there's two scenarios here, okay? You either have to show to win, when they give you asylum, even though you don't have a well-founded fear of future persecution, it's called a grant of humanitarian asylum. Okay, that's what humanitarian asylum is. It's a grant of asylum in the absence of well-founded fear of persecution. And there's two instances where this happens. One of them is where you've been persecuted. Both of these scenarios, you have to show past persecution on account of a protected ground. Okay, and one of the scenarios where you can get a humanitarian asylum is where in the future, you're likely to face what they call other serious harm. This other serious harm need not be related to or linked to one of the 5 protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law. It can be, when they say other serious harm, they mean harm that is not related to one of the 5 protected grounds. So doesn't have to be because of your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. It can be any kind of harm. It can be civil strife in your country. It can be famine in your country. It can be any kind of real harm that you would be subjected to can count for purposes of trying to win humanitarian asylum, which is when you do establish past persecution on account of protected ground, but the asylum officer says, you know what, we don't think you're going to be harmed in the future or persecuted in the future. And that does happen. It happens when, let's say, the people who persecuted you in the past, let's say they belong to, you back then in your country, you were part of the political opposition, and you were persecuted by the government in power. But then since you've been in the United States, maybe your party won the elections or they came into power. And so now you don't have a well-founded fear of being persecuted by that old government because that old government's no longer in power. Well, you could still win asylum based on the past persecution if you show that there's a real risk of other serious harm. Now, probably the more common way to win humanitarian asylum is based on past persecution that is particularly severe. That is to say, when you convince the officer that what happened to you in the past, in terms of your past persecution, was really, really bad, then they'll say, you know what, we're going to give you asylum, even though maybe something has changed such that you now don't have a well-founded fear of future persecution. We're going to give you humanitarian asylum because, listen, what you went through was really bad and we feel bad for you. And we think that you should, get this protection here and get to live here. That's a grant of humanitarian asylum based on the severity, how grave the past persecution was. And so that's why it's especially important for you to really help the officer understand what happened to you in the past, okay? Like how bad it was, both in terms of physical harm as well as any psychological trauma, psychological harm that you endured as a part of that past persecution, okay? Because if you show them, yeah, it was really, really, really bad, then it makes it easier to win asylum, okay? You can even win despite the officer thinking, and I don't really think anyone's going to persecute you in the future on account of protected ground, okay? So that's why you really want to show details, okay, about how bad the past persecution was, how severe it was. So now you know what humanitarian asylum is. It's when you win asylum despite that you no longer, in the officer's eyes, have a well-founded fear of future persecution. and you do it, you win this based on the past persecution. You have to show past persecution on account of protected ground. And then you either have to show other serious harm is likely in the future, or that the past persecution was especially severe. Okay. That's humanitarian asylum. Let's go to the questions. For those of you who just joined us, my name is Brian Manning, and I am an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. If you want to talk with us, go to winasylum.com. That website is winasylum.com, winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation. Listen, you should know that these spots are limited. We've had a bunch of interest in getting our help, especially since the elections, right? Because Donald Trump is trying to deport people, and he's making it harder to win. It's going to make it harder to win asylum. And so people are scared, and they are motivated to put together the strongest asylum case possible. So our consultation spots are filling up really fast. In fact, as of a few minutes ago, that if you would have checked, you would have seen that there were no spots, because we only allow bookings up to like 2 weeks out, and we were completely booked solid, despite 3 people doing consultations full time. We were booked solid for 2 weeks, and I just though had a few minutes ago asked my colleague to open up some spots on the weekend. Some of my colleagues are going to work overtime; they're going to work on the weekend and open up consultation slots for you guys, because we know there's a lot of interest. It's a difficult moment. A lot of people need guidance, and they need to see whether someone like our law firm can help them. So the point is, go to winasylum.com. That's winasylum.com. And that's where you can book a consultation with us. Okay. And if you go now, I believe that as of this moment, there should be some spots showing up now for the weekend. Go to winasylum.com. Okay. winasylum.com. And if you go and they're not there right now, check back in like 2 hours, okay, at winasylum.com to see. I just checked. We've got some openings. I checked. We've got openings right now. There's only one left on. These are filling up really fast. There's one left on Saturday. There's a few on Sunday. Sunday we've got some availability. So, jump in. All right. Take advantage of that. Jump on those now. Okay. All right. That is what I wanted to say about that. Let's go to your questions now. All right. Let me know what questions you have about asylum in the United States. I'm going to start with Gigi, who left the very kind comment earlier about their asylum approval last week. So congratulations. So the question though that Gigi asks is, okay, well, I just got approved for asylum. Should I still be concerned about possible deportation under Donald Trump's policies? So yeah, the question is this. After you win asylum, do you need to be worried still about possible deportation under the new policies that Donald Trump is going to bring with him to the White House? No. Honestly, Trump is going to do some very destructive, terrible, in my opinion, things with regard to immigration and specifically asylum. But I don't think you need to be worried. If you've won asylum, if you are an asylee, which is what we call someone who has won asylum, I don't think you need to worry about getting deported. I don't think someone's going to come for you. They're not going to arrest you. But listen, it makes sense to move your case forward as quickly as possible to apply for your permanent residency, known as your green card. Pretty much, I think you should do it right away. All right. And then once you get that, as soon as you're eligible to apply for U.S. citizenship, do that. You want to get to the most solid, stable status, which is citizenship, as quickly as possible. Okay. So that's what I think about that. All right. Ayuba Moro says, hello. Hey, Ayuba, good to see you. All right. I'm sorry to hear this. We got Umbile, we got Dixon, who on YouTube, who says, my case is with USCIS for more than 1.3 months. How long do I have to wait for my interview? My family is already tearing apart from in Huntsville, Texas. I'm sorry to hear that, Dixon. That's really tough. Yeah. So the question The question is this: how long can you expect to wait for your asylum interview with USCIS when you apply? In many cases, right now, in many cases, it's happening really, really quickly. We've seen a lot of people get their interviews within 2 or 3 months of applying, some within 1 month of applying for asylum with USCIS. There's no guarantees. It's impossible to predict with really any confidence. The policies and the practice around this changes all the time, but due to the overall policy and the conditions on the ground in terms of USCIS workloads and the kinds of interviews they have to prioritize, things are such that right now, there's actually a decent chance that after you apply for asylum with USCIS, you'll get your interview very quickly. That means you got to be ready to go. You got to be ready to put your case together on paper and prepare for your interview. Don't hesitate to call. Don't wait to call an asylum lawyer. You can get in touch with us at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule a free consultation. We have some free spots for our consultations. If you don't see a spot that works for you, or if they're not showing up as available, the free ones, we offer some paid ones that are like extra hours. Consultations with me currently cost, there's a fee for those, as well as with some of my colleagues for like after hours, extended hours outside of normal business hours. Normal business hours with my colleagues are free, okay? And they're great. They're well-trained. They are lovely people. They're smart people. They're empathetic, compassionate people who care about our community, the community that we're engaging with you. That means you. And they're really good at what they do. And so they're going to treat you great, and they're going to figure out whether we think we're in a position to help you, okay? And if so, they're going to explain to you exactly how we would go about, like what the concrete steps would be, what our asylum action plan would be in your particular case, okay? That's what we'll tell you about during a consultation. You can book that at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM, .com. All right. Nice. The Science of Everything's on YouTube says, I have a question. What's your question? The Science of Everything. All right. Mike from Los Angeles. Hey, Mike, thanks for joining from Los Angeles. Can I file for a writ of mandamus if it's been 4 years passed from my interview? Is it early? Have you had any writ of mandamus successful cases from LA recently? Mike, just to clarify, are you saying it's been 4 years since your interview, or you've already had your interview and it's been 4 years since you had your interview? Or is that what you mean? Let me try to address it like this. Well, let me address the second part of your question first. Have we had successful cases, mandamus cases with Los Angeles? Absolutely. Listen, I've got to caveat this. I've got to be careful with my words, but I'll do that by saying past results does not guarantee future success. Okay. Having said that, we filed over 100 of these lawsuits, these asylum delay lawsuits in the last, year and a half, and we have not lost one yet. Okay. We have not lost one yet. No guarantees that if you hire us for your mandamus case, your asylum delay lawsuit, there's no guarantee that it will work, that we'll win, that it'll be successful. But I can tell you, it's working really, really well. To date, our clients absolutely love it. In fact, at the very beginning of this show today, we had the post on YouTube, the comment on YouTube from Gigi, who is one of our clients, as they indicated in their post, their comment that said that they won asylum last week, and their case is one where we did the mandamus lawsuit. All right, so but regarding Los Angeles, we've had lots of success in Los Angeles. Okay, the question though is, I'm going to frame it like this. The question is this: how long do you have to wait before filing a mandamus lawsuit, one of these asylum delay lawsuits, to push your stalled asylum case forward? Now, listen, Los Angeles Asylum Office is a little bit different than the rest of the country. Los Angeles Asylum Office, we're saying 5 years. 5 years since you applied, not since your interview, since you applied. If you applied at least 5 years ago, 5 years or more, then you're in a good position to have success with the mandamus lawsuit, whether that's suing to get your interview if you haven't yet had it yet, or if you've had your interview and you want to get the decision at 5 years since you applied, not 5 years since the interview, 5 years since you applied, you're in a good position to force the decision as well. In the rest of the country, for every other asylum office, only 3 years. That's our threshold right now. That's our minimum to help people sue the government to force your interview or force your decision, to move your case forward so you can get certainty, get confidence around your future and the life you want to build in America. Okay? If you want to talk about that, go to winasylum.com. By the way, we're offering a discount only through the end of the year. So this month only, December. It ends on December 31st at 11:59 p.m. A discount that we're offering of $500 for this kind of case, for these mandamus lawsuits. Okay. It's not, we don't offer that. We're not offering it for any other kind of cases, just for these asylum delay lawsuits. Why? I think the longer that you wait and the longer that it takes to get your interview and be able to present your case and get a decision, the lower your chances for success. I think with every passing month, I think that's true in general, but the Trump effect makes this phenomenon, this idea even more pressing, because I believe that with every passing month that Trump is in office, the approval rates are going to go down. Okay. And because of that, we want to incentivize people to move their case forward. And so we're offering through the end of this year a discount of $500 applied to the initial payment. Okay. So if you want to take advantage of that, you have to hire us by the end of the year. I am not extending this. I'm not going to extend this to next year. Okay. So listen, don't wait. Contact us right now. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com to schedule your asylum strategy session now with one of our asylum professionals. All right. Dixon says hello from Huntsville, Texas. Science of Everything says, is Minnesota or Chicago a good place for an asylum interview? The question is this: is the Chicago asylum office a good place to have your asylum case heard? So yeah, both Chicago and the areas that they go to on what they call circuit ride locations, where they sometimes send an officer from Chicago out to like Indianapolis or to the Twin Cities, to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Those cases are still under the control of the Chicago asylum office. And the answer is, yeah, Chicago's pretty good. Chicago has a pretty high approval rate. I mean, it's kind of in the middle, but it's higher. It's a lot higher than like Houston, Miami, even New York. New York is actually the lowest, according to the most recent statistics, which are not that recent. New York was actually like the lowest. But yeah, Chicago is good. I would, if you're in Chicago, I'd feel like, yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I'm in a pretty good place to have a somewhat fair hearing of my asylum claim. Okay. So good luck. Good luck with your interview in Minneapolis. Abdullahi, sorry if I mispronounced that, says hello. SAM says hi, sir. Hello, good to see you. Good question. The Science of Everything says, watching from North Dakota. Hello. After your case is expedited, what are the chances of winning it? Good question. Let me address it like this. The question is this: if you get your asylum interview expedited, or let's say you get it moved up and forced and scheduled by way of a mandamus lawsuit, one of these asylum delay lawsuits, is that going to help you to actually win the underlying case, or could it have the opposite effect and maybe even hurt your chances for winning? Listen, no matter how you get your interview, it doesn't matter. The way that you get your interview, whether it's organically of just waiting for it and it falls into your lap eventually, or doing like a humanitarian expedite and getting it expedited, or getting it forced, getting it scheduled through a mandamus lawsuit, all those, none of those matter for the chances of winning your case. None of them makes it more likely that you'll win, and none of them makes it less likely than you'll win. The officer doesn't care how you got your interview. They just care about whether you meet all of the elements for asylum eligibility. So you got to be ready to present your case and do it well. Okay. We got the Beckham family. Hello. Glad to have you here. Velvet Versa asks, what is WOM? Gigi, I think he's asking writ of Mandamus, I believe is what that stands for, which is the Mandamus lawsuit or the asylum delay lawsuit. That's what he means. All right. What can we expect? Girish Mathad says, what can we expect from the U visa program? I don't know. I don't do U visas. I only do asylum. That's what we do all day, every day. Okay. All right. So good question. So Amar says, can immigrants from Sudan request humanitarian asylum as the war is still ongoing and it's a heinous war with many human rights violations? Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear about what's going on in your country. That's incredibly difficult, Amar. I'm really sorry. But listen, as I was trying to explain earlier, that humanitarian asylum has a very specific meaning. It doesn't just mean like, oh, things are bad in your country, therefore we'll give you asylum. That's not how it works. The answer to your question is no, you won't get humanitarian asylum just because you're from a given country. You have to show that you qualify for asylum by meeting all of the asylum eligibility requirements, including for people from Sudan. Okay. So yeah, let me address it like this. The question is this: is it possible to win asylum based really just on the fact that, you're from a country that's undergoing a lot of problems? Like if there's war going on in your country, civil strife, like let's say a lot of violence, are you going to win asylum? And the answer is not necessarily. No. I mean, it's true. Look, it's true that there are certain countries that the conditions there do tend to give rise to pretty good asylum claims. Like in Venezuela, for years, the country has been an absolute mess with tons of persecution of people. A lot of it is motivated by politics. So it fits under the political opinion category of the 5 protected grounds. But just being at war or having conflict will not qualify you for asylum. You have to show that you personally meet all of the asylum eligibility requirements, and that's a hard thing to do. I really recommend that you have an asylum lawyer help you with this analysis and help you with your case if you want to apply for asylum. Okay? All right. Good question. If I've abandoned asylum and I do not have a criminal history, will I get deported? Good question. Let's do it like this. So, question is this: what happens to you if you withdraw your asylum claim? Are you going to get deported? So listen, actually, yeah, there's a good chance that you will get put in deportation proceedings if you tell the asylum office, I withdraw my claim. I don't want to seek asylum. I want to take away my asylum claim, withdraw it. When you do that, they look at your immigration status at that moment. If you do have status, like you have temporary protected status, TPS, or maybe you have student status or whatever the case may be. If you do have status, then nothing happens. You just keep with that status and the asylum office does not take further action. However, if you say, I want to withdraw, and they look and at that moment you don't have any kind of status, yeah, they're almost certainly going to put you in deportation proceedings. And then you don't even have an asylum claim pending, but you're in deportation proceedings. Not a good position. Do not withdraw your asylum claim unless you're absolutely positive. Talk to an asylum lawyer first, okay? Really important. All right. Will changing your address affect your asylum case, says Cali Fitness. Good question. The question is this: does changing your address affect your underlying asylum case? So listen, it doesn't affect what you have to do to prove that you meet the asylum eligibility requirements, right? That doesn't matter. That doesn't change based on where you live. But there's 2 things you should know about. If you do that before you have reached 180 days of your case pending, that change of address can stop the EAD clock, the work permit clock, meaning you won't be able to get your work permit unless and until you have your interview, and that will start the clock again. That'll get you to those 180 days required for them to be able to approve your work permit. Also, if you move from the jurisdiction of one asylum office to the jurisdiction of another asylum office, your case will automatically get transferred. It's not optional. They will transfer your case. And you could risk transferring it from an asylum office with a high approval rate to one with a low approval rate. So keep that in mind and talk to an asylum lawyer before you do that, okay? Um, all right. Prajwal Dahal says, how long will it take for an asylum interview after a writ of mandamus in the Sacramento area? So listen, let's do it like this. The question is this. How long can you expect to wait to have your interview after you file a mandamus lawsuit to force USCIS to schedule your asylum interview? So listen, there's no guarantees on this, and it changes. It can change at any moment, but we've been doing this a bunch lately in my office. My law firm has filed over 100 of these in the last, year or so. And by the way, it's worked every time so far. Let me rephrase that. We haven't lost a single case. Worked is subjective in terms of, how quickly the person was expecting their interview, but we haven't lost one of these yet. It works extremely well. Okay. On average, our clients are getting them probably, I would say 3 or 4 months after we file the lawsuit is when they're getting their interviews. In the San Francisco asylum office, we have seen some take a little bit longer, like 6 or 8 months for the actual interview to take place after we get the interview notice, but it's better than not suing. If you don't sue, you're probably going to be waiting multiple years. Okay. But yeah, sometimes it's faster. Sometimes it's a few weeks after we sue that our client has the interview. So you got to be ready. You got to have your case in order, have the case explained on paper, and be ready to start preparing intensively for your asylum interview. Okay. We're offering a discount of $500 off on this asylum delay lawsuit service. Okay. On this mandamus lawsuit service, but it's only through the end of the year. It expires at 11:59 p.m. on December 31st, 2024. After that, the discount goes away. Okay. So if you've been thinking about possibly, I might want to move my case forward. Now is the time to act. Not just because of the discount. There's a much, much, much more important reason, which is, I believe that with every month that Trump is in power, it's going to become increasingly hard to win your case. I think the chances for success are going to diminish over time. I think the approval rates are going to go down. Denial rates are going to go up with every month that Trump is in power. I think it makes sense to move your asylum case forward as quickly as possible. So if you've been waiting multiple years for your asylum interview, now is the time. Go to winasylum.com to schedule a consultation. That's WINASYLUM.com. Okay. All right. Eunice Sadron says, I have a strong defensive asylum as well. I'm eligible for a U visa. Should I apply for my U visa? My friends at the prosecutor will dismiss my case with a U visa. Oh, that's a tough call. It's interesting. With that last name, I'm going to guess, are you from Afghanistan, Eunice? If you're from Afghanistan and you think that you have a strong asylum claim, then it really might make sense to, I was going to say it would make sense to not apply for the U visa because of the reason that you talked about it being a reason to get the case dismissed. But honestly, with the Trump administration coming in, I don't think they're going to be dismissing hardly any cases. I think that there's a good chance that they will not dismiss even where someone has a U visa application pending. This is a tough one. I don't know. Listen, I think I would have to hear more about your case, Eunice, to tell you whether I think you should apply for a U visa or not. We would need to talk about this in detail. Okay. Project Wallace says, it's been almost 4 years since I filed. I want to know more about Mandamus in Sacramento Asylum. Listen, if you want to know more about Mandamus, go to YouTube. By the way, for those of you on TikTok, YouTube is where I have all my best stuff. Go to YouTube. If you go to YouTube, you search political asylum lawyers, you're going to see my picture for my YouTube channel. The English language channel is called Political Asylum Lawyers. And if you go to the full-length trainings video tab or to a playlist, you're going to see some very detailed asylum tutorials, long-form trainings. Some of them are super, super detailed. All right. And there's one that is, if you go to YouTube and just search tutorial Mandamus for asylum or asylum Mandamus tutorial, you'll see that I have like a 25 or something minute long video where I talk in great detail, Dahal, about how it works, what it is, how it works, everything you need to know about the Mandamus lawsuit. Okay. Nice. All right. Have we won any cases in South Carolina? Asks Kevin. Absolutely. Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Kit says, can someone who was in the USA illegally as a minor and left USA as a minor apply for asylum? Will they be denied? You won't automatically be denied because you were here previously. However, if you were deported, if you were formally deported, there can be a ban on you receiving asylum for a certain amount of time. That's something you should talk about with an asylum lawyer before moving forward. Okay. So Jamil says, do asylum seekers from Iraq have an easier time considering it's a very troubled place? The question is this: is it going to be easier for someone from a war-torn country, or a country that has experienced war and maybe now is still experiencing some conflict and high levels of violence? Will someone from a country like that, like Iraq, for example, have a pretty good chance of winning asylum? Will it be easier for them to win than for someone from other places? Listen, it's true that certain countries do have conditions that mean that a lot of people from there might have a decent asylum claim. But what I want to stress for you is that alone is not going to win you asylum, all right? You have to show that you have a well-founded fear of persecution. And there's actually a very technical way that you do this under the law. You need to talk with an asylum lawyer to see if you might have a viable case in your own case and based on your facts and circumstances, okay? You can do that with us at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation with us. Hope we can talk. All right? Someone else. We got another person in Sacramento who wants to know about the Mandamus lawsuit for the Sacramento area. Bree says, it's been 4 years since I filed. I haven't gotten the interview. I wanted to know more about about Mandamus in the Sacramento area. And also if you know the success percentage in the Sacramento area. That's the Sacramento. If you live in Sacramento, your case is with the San Francisco Asylum Office, right? We've had success with every single Mandamus lawsuit that we filed in Sacramento, with the San Francisco Asylum Office in terms of quickly getting the asylum interview notice, okay? Again, past results, do not guarantee future results or future outcomes, but I can tell you that the asylum delay lawsuit, the Mandamus lawsuit, is an incredibly effective tool to get your asylum case moving forward, get your interview scheduled, okay? So yeah, we've had a lot of success with people living in Sacramento with the asylum delay lawsuit, this Mandamus lawsuit. We love it. Our clients absolutely love it because it works really, really well. If you're sick of waiting, we should talk about this, okay? You can go to winasylum.com to schedule a consultation with us to get to know more about it, okay? Jamil says, it's been a few years since the opening of the new USCIS New Orleans office. Is their approval rate still high? Would love to get an update about it. Thanks for all the info. You're welcome. So the question is this. Does the New Orleans Asylum Office still have a really high approval rate? So this is a new office, right? It used to be what they called a sub-office, like it was under the jurisdiction of the Houston Asylum Office. When I was at the Houston Asylum Office, New Orleans was our sub-office, but then it turned into its own, it graduated into being its own asylum office. And the most recent statistics, unfortunately, are from a few years ago. And those statistics showed a really high approval rate. I think it was the second highest maybe in the country after San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken. It might even have been the highest. It was really high. It was very surprising because that's in the South. But to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know whether it still has a high approval rate because there's no new statistics available at that level from USCIS. They have not for several years put out statistics about the asylum approval rates by asylum office, so we don't know. I assume it's still probably pretty high, but I'm guessing it's not as high as it was. Okay. But still, I wouldn't, if I were an asylum seeker and my case were there, I would be somewhat encouraged by the fact that it had this high approval rate a few years ago. Okay. So it's better than the other way around. It's better than the somewhat old statistics telling us that it was a super low approval rate, right? Have you had any exceptions for LA office that you filed for writ of mandamus and the asylum got the interview? Brian says, Mike, do you mean, when you say exceptions, do you mean less than 5 years? Well, we filed for someone who's been less than 5 years and they fought back and we're still fighting it. And that takes a while. Okay. It takes a while to actually fight the case to the end and get a decision from the judge. It probably takes like a year or something on average. We might still win. We might still win for that. The judge might agree with us and force USCIS to give them their interview, but that process is taking a while. And so that's why we're saying with Los Angeles, we're waiting. We're not taking cases until the person's been waiting for 5 years. Okay. All right. Do we help with, Camel says, do you guys help with religious cases from Turkey or atheists, Christians, etc.? What are the chances of winning it, or do you have success with Turkish seekers? Yeah. So the question, let's do it like this. The question is this. Does my office have experience with asylum cases from Turkey and specifically on religion grounds, based on religion? And the answer is yeah, we've had quite a bit of experience with cases from Turkey. We've had quite a few clients from there, and yeah, we've had success, including in religion-based cases. And listen, before I became an asylum lawyer, I was an asylum officer with the government, and I handled a lot of cases from Turkey when I was an asylum officer. So we know these cases really well. And actually, in the 2017 coup attempt, I was next door in Bulgaria. I was a diplomat at that time, and I was working at the U.S. Embassy in Sofia, Bulgaria. And so you better believe we were watching very closely what was going on in Turkey at the attempted coup. So I know a lot about the background. I know a lot about the history. And yeah, we like these cases. Okay? We should talk. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, okay? All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. So Kite over Mars, the fact that let me address your question like this. Thanks for clarifying. If you were previously in the United States, but then you left, you weren't deported. You left, but you weren't deported. And then you come back and you want to seek asylum now. Well, the fact that you were previously here, maybe even living here for a long time, will that hurt your chances for winning asylum now? And the answer is no, it won't. Even if you were here without permission, even if you were living here without permission for multiple years, if you left and you were not deported, but then you come back and you apply for asylum, the fact that you were here previously, even without permission, even for a long time, will not negatively affect your asylum claim. There's no rule, there's no bar at issue here. And even like at a sort of psychological level, even if it's subconsciously, like, will it negatively influence the officer? I don't think so. No. So that's good news. If you fear being harmed in your country, you should talk to an asylum lawyer about applying for asylum. Okay. All right. Kite over Mars says, thanks for taking your time to answer our questions. My pleasure. I love engaging with the community here and, seeing what we can do to help folks out. All right. Sam, you got to stop spamming the chat, man. About to get blocked. Sam, I'm going to answer your question though. Sam says, I have an asylum case pending for a year. Can I do the mandamus to move my case forward? The answer is, I don't think that you're in a good position to have success with the mandamus lawsuit, having waited just 1 year for your interview. I think you should wait at least 3 years. 5 years with the Los Angeles Asylum Office, 3 years in all the other asylum offices. At that threshold is when I think you put yourself in a good position to have success with the mandamus lawsuit. Okay? All right. Wow. Okay. Georgie Avalashvili, I'm guessing you're Georgian based on that name, says, hello, 23 years old and I got assaulted because of my sexual orientation in my country. I'm really sorry to hear that, Georgie. I have medical, police proofs of incidents and proofs from my university where it happened. Does that sound like a strong case? The question is this. First of all, Georgie, before I do that, I'm really sorry to hear about what happened to you. That sounds incredibly difficult. No one should have to go through those kinds of things, so I'm really sorry that you did. The question is this. If you've been physically harmed, like assaulted because of your sexual orientation, and you've got proof, evidence about this, does that make for a strong asylum case? Well, listen, it's going to depend on how bad the assault was, how bad the harm was. If it's really, really, really bad, really grave, then that might be enough by itself for you to win asylum. If you consider an attack in along with other maybe incidents of harm or threats or other harassment because of your sexual orientation, then that makes for a stronger case. If it's a country where the authorities are really, really unlikely to help people who are harmed or threatened because of their sexual orientation, then that makes for a stronger case still. But listen, there's a lot of little factors that go into this. It's going to come down to more than, I want to know more than just that about your case. Let's talk about it. Go to winasylum.com and schedule a consultation. Okay, winasylum.com. All right. We've had a lot of success with LGBTQ plus cases. I'm passionate about those kinds of cases. Look, the fact that you're from Georgia, a lot of people, there's some asylum office. I assume you're from Georgia based off your name, but I could be wrong. But a lot of officers are going to go, isn't that in Europe? They should, that's like a pretty developed country. They should be able to go to the police and take care of it. They're probably not that backward there regarding, LGBTQ plus issues. So, it should be okay. There's a lot of officers who will think that. So you got to put together a really strong case. Okay. All right. Dubai Life says Minnesota USCIS approval rates for affirmative asylum. So those cases are handled by the Chicago Asylum Office. And I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but Chicago has among the higher approval rates. It's probably the third or fourth highest approval rate in the country, probably the fourth. So that's pretty good. It's not bad. It could be a lot worse. So you're in pretty good shape if you're in Minnesota. Okay. How fast is the Houston Asylum Office for interviews? Well, it is possible that you get your asylum interview pretty much right away after applying, within 2 or 3 months. If you've been waiting for multiple years already and you sue in a Mandamus lawsuit in Houston, most of our clients have gotten their interviews really fast after we sue, within like a month or two after we sue. Okay. Diskkiller 306 says, hey sir, Iraqi gay, 27-year-old. Yeah. If you're a member of the LGBTQ plus community from Iraq, then you probably have a pretty decent chance of winning asylum, but it's not a guarantee. I promise you there are gay people from Iraq that have lost their asylum case. I promise you. You need to do a good job of presenting your case, of explaining it on paper, preparing for the interview, to do a great job at the interview. Okay. We should talk about that. All right. Mike D says, how about Iran? Do you have clients filing for religion asylum cases? The question, Mike D, is this. Does my law firm have experience helping people from Iran with religion-based cases? And the answer is absolutely yes. We've had quite a few of these, and we've had success with these. Anyone from Iran who does not practice Islam in the way that the Iranian government thinks they should practice Islam is at real risk of being harmed, right? If you're especially at grave risk, if you renounce Islam or like you convert to another religion, that happens a lot when people come to the United States. A lot of them are Iranian students that come on like a student visa, and they end up converting to another religion, or at least like stopping, believing and practicing in Islam. That can make for a good case. Yeah, it can make for a good asylum case. We've had a lot of success with those cases. You can still lose. Believe me, people do lose that case still. So you got to put together a solid case. And yeah, we've had a lot of success with those. If you want to talk about it, Mike, we should definitely talk. Go to winasylum.com, ASYLUM.com. Okay. We know these cases really well. We've won these cases. Mike, I'm pretty sure that we've won all of them. I can't say with 100% certainty off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that all of our Iran religious-based claims that we've won. I'm pretty sure. Okay. But I've also seen them lost. I've seen people lose them. So they can be lost for sure. Okay. You got to do a good job with your case. All right. We should talk about it. Okay. Go to winasylum.com. Daniel Rivera says, do you have to pay state taxes in the state of New York to get your asylum decision? Yep. So here's the question. Will your failure to pay taxes negatively affect your asylum case? No. Simple answer, no. Okay. Listen, I encourage you to pay the taxes that you're supposed to pay. Okay. I think you should do that. And it's true. It can negatively affect things later in your immigration process with next steps after asylum, but it won't keep you from getting asylum. In fact, I can say with confidence, I do not think it will negatively affect your asylum claim at all. The asylum officers don't normally know whether you've paid your taxes. They don't ask. They don't know and they don't ask. I've never seen that asked. When I was an asylum officer, I never asked it once. I was never instructed or it was never even suggested that I asked that question. Okay. They just want to know, do you meet the asylum eligibility requirements for asylum, and whether you've paid your taxes, whether that's state or federal, is just not an issue, not a concern. Okay. All right. D. Skiller 306 says, no persecution. I'm just a gay Iraqi. Chances for approval, 27-year-old Iraqi gay. Here's the question. What are your chances for success with USA Asylum if you're a member of the LGBTQ plus community, but you've never had any problems before, but you're from a society where that's looked down upon? And if a lot of people knew about it, you might be at risk. We do have a lot of clients in this position that are from places in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, where maybe they were sort of in the closet. They were not open about their sexuality while they were in their country. Then they come to the United States and they start to really embrace and live out their sexual identity. And then they're worried, if I go back, I could be harmed because now people are going to find out that I'm gay, or if I were there, either I'd have to totally live it back in the closet in hiding, or I'd be at risk. Can you win asylum based on that? Yeah, it is possible in a lot of cases. You got to do a good job with country conditions information and a legal brief where you explain that fitting that profile puts you at real risk. But yeah, it can be done. In fact, I would say any member of the LGBTQ plus community from Iraq, yeah, you've got a decent chance for success. But I've seen cases like this lost. Okay, you still have to do a really good job with your case. You got to package it well and explain it well on paper. You got to be really prepared for the interview and do a great job at the interview to win this case. Okay. Georgie says, thanks for your understanding and answer. Yes, I'm Georgian. I'll schedule an appointment for sure. Awesome. Georgie, do it now. Just open up a new tab, go to winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule this consultation. Georgie, I'm going to go check. I'm going to get off here in like a minute and I'm going to go check our calendar software and see if your name is on there. I want to see you on there. I like Georgie. I like you. I can already tell that, that you're the kind of person that I think we really would like to help and would really work well with. So I hope that you'll schedule this consultation. Okay. Tuition study says, what do you think the approval rate for Indian Muslim based on fear of persecution in the future is? Good question. So the question is this: what are your chances of winning asylum if you're from India and you are a religious minority? Let's say that you're a Muslim or maybe a Christian from India, and you're worried about that. You're worried about the fact that you're not a Hindu. Can you win asylum based on that? The answer is we've definitely helped people win cases based on them being a religious minority, both Muslims and Christians from India. But it's tricky, all right? It's tricky. just showing up at the asylum office and being like, I'm Muslim is not going to be enough to win your case. You have to really explain and prepare your case. It's going to come down to, you personally, what's happened to you, but also convincing the asylum officer that there exists what's called a pattern or practice of persecution of people similarly situated to you, which is to say religious minorities, especially of your particular religion. And we've had success with that. So we should talk. Go to winasylum.com. Okay. winasylum.com to schedule your consultation. Do it now. Like literally right now. All right. Tuition study. Go do it now. I want to talk. Will the next president end CBP1? What happens to those of us already in the USA with asylum? The question is this. Is Donald Trump going to end the CBP1 program? And what happens to people that already came in through it and already won their asylum case? Are they at risk? First things first, yeah, he said he's going to end CBP1. That's not going to be an option to come to the United States legally anymore. He's also said he's going to end the CHNV program, this program for Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, whereby people were able to come legally, like on an airplane, and enter the country legally, and have status for up to 2 years, usually. He's going to end that as well. But listen, if you've already won asylum through one of those programs, I think you're okay. I do not think he's going to go and try and take asylum away from the people that have already gained it through those programs. Likewise, if you already have applied, I don't think it's going to negatively affect your chances of winning the fact that you came through one of those programs. Okay? That's good news. All right. Alrighty. Nice. So, all right, Discular 306, are you based in California? Oh, interesting. All right, back live on TikTok. We were off for a second. Are you based in California? I'm planning on filing for asylum as soon as I come, early 2025. Can you help? Thanks for asking. The question is this. Are we based in California, or can we help someone apply for asylum there? So listen, we're based in Texas, but it doesn't matter. We help people all over the country. We have lots of clients in California, lots, both Southern and Northern California. With immigration, as long as the lawyer is licensed to practice law in any of the U.S. states, they can do immigration law in all of the U.S. states because it's considered federal law. And that means that even though we're based in Texas, our lawyers can help you in any country, all right? We have a lot of clients in Texas, but we've got a lot in California. We've got a lot in Florida. We've got a lot in New York. We've got a lot around Chicago. We've got a lot in Atlanta, North Carolina, South Carolina, all right? We help people all over the country, including every single day in California. We love helping folks in California. So once you get to the United States, schedule that consultation at winasylum.com, okay? Descaler, we don't do consultations for people until they're in the United States. So once you get here, if you're considering applying for asylum, we should talk, okay? All right. Mike said, you said that you're concerned that you applied for asylum 3 years after you got here. You said, I was a student when I filed. As long as you were in your student status the whole time, it's okay. You will qualify for an exception to the 1-year filing deadline called maintenance of status. That counts under the umbrella of what they call extraordinary circumstances. As long as you came in as a student and you didn't violate that, such as by working illegally, then as long as you maintain that status the whole time through the time of your filing, you will qualify for an exception to the 1-year filing deadline. Therefore, you will not be barred by the 1-year filing deadline, and you'll be okay. All right. That's nice. Velvet Versa says, I came from the country where LGBT is not a crime and I won asylum. Brian's team did so well on the legal brief and explaining your personal experience and country conditions. Thank you, Velvet Versa, one of our clients. Thank you very much for the kind comment, for telling these folks about it. I appreciate it. Very kind of you. Uh, the science of everything. Did you say your interview is in? What'd you say, next week? If it's next week, no, we can't represent you. We don't have time, unfortunately. But I wish you all the best. And I hope it goes well. I hope you win. If you don't, if you get a referral to immigration court, call me right away. Go to winasylum.com right away and schedule an appointment, because we need to talk as soon as possible if that happens. But I hope you win. All right. All right. Will Donald Trump winning the presidency immediately affect asylum cases? The question is this: is Donald Trump's resumption of the top job in the White House going to immediately affect asylum seekers? In other words, when Donald Trump gets sworn in on January 20th, is it going to be immediate, this negative impact for asylum cases that I think is going to happen? The answer is actually, yeah, there will be literally immediately some negative consequences for asylum seekers. Donald Trump is going to make some executive orders, probably almost certainly that day, around immigration and asylum specifically, that will make it harder for certain classes of people to get asylum. However, some of these policies he's going to enact are going to take some time to really be put in place and take full effect. Also, the general sort of anti-immigrant atmosphere that's going to come with him and contribute to more denials will take a while to sort of ramp up. So the sooner you apply, or the sooner you push your asylum case forward, the better. You want to move fast. You want to move now, and you want to move fast. Okay? Nice. All right, that's actually it for today. Gotta go, but listen, great talking with all of you. It's truly a pleasure to support you in your asylum journey. I'm Brian Manning again, and listen, we're based in Texas, but it doesn't matter. We help people all over the country. We help immigrants every day to secure their future in America through asylum. That's what we want to do for you. So if you're thinking about applying, or you've already got a case pending and you want to increase your chances for success by presenting the strongest case possible and being as prepared as possible, then please go to the website winasylum.com and schedule a consultation with one of our asylum professionals. That's winasylum.com. Last thing to remember, through the end of December, we're offering a discount of $500 on our Mandamus lawsuit service, the asylum delay lawsuit. If you've been waiting for multiple years for your asylum interview with USCIS, I strongly suggest that you talk with an asylum lawyer about suing to possibly move your case forward. For most people, I think that is going to make a lot of sense. I think it's highly, highly, highly advisable for most people. We should talk about it. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Bye, guys. Have a good afternoon.